this. And so Christians, especially, it's like, I feel like sometimes we're the dumbest crowd out there.
Before we get into kind of what my questions are on cannabis right now, can you break down a little bit? I know you're not like the expert, but in terms of the prohibition of cannabis, characterizing cannabis users, and how all of that, has not really been beneficial to society. When we're dogmatic about things and we just say things are this or things are that. Can you break down a little bit of like the history of cannabis?
Yeah, Fab Five Freddy's probably does it better. And Grass is Greener is on Netflix right now. I made my family watch it. My 13-year-old daughter and 16-year-old son, because it's like, this is why we're doing this.
I've heard great things about the documentary.
It's amazing.
I haven't watched
and
it
so,
yet.
Basically he's saying, look, we couldn't keep blacks in jail for being black, or, as slaves, but we could put them in jail because of weed. And talks about the jazz music. Then he talks about the word marijuana, calling this a Mexican weed. And then with the political movement. So basically this was a play for, blacks and Hispanics, and very racially charged. And then it became a political movement to just say, hey, we just got to keep this out. And, then the war on drugs, and a lot of that stuff that they uncover, it's just like, why are we scared of this? And so Christians, especially, it's like, I feel like sometimes we're the dumbest crowd out there, out of anybody. Because literally, a relative of mine, and she's young, so I'll give her a pass, but she goes to a super fundamentalist church, and she's just like, well, Jesus turned water into non-alcoholic wine.
Oh my gosh.
And you're just like, bullshit. Like, this isn't like, no. Like, and so these pastors that get on this, like, to me, you get on a stage, you have no experience, and you're going to talk about something, twist scripture, and even some of the fight against us when people say, hey, well, why isn't there more scripture on your site? I don't need to pull out. I could pull out a scripture and tweak it in anything. I look at Genesis and third day if these plants are created. So I think we've got it wrong in what we've told people about this. And a lot of people are still hanging on to, and those are the rule followers. Like, you look at the one on the, like a lot of my friends are ones on the Enneagram. They're like, no, if this is wrong federally, until it passes, I will not partake. Well, I'm a rule breaker. So obviously I'm not telling you to break the rules of your state and do anything illegally. But just because, and the slavery things, to me, it's a horrible analogy to compare it. But like, we were totally wrong on slavery. Like, and we all admit, hopefully everybody admits that now. But on cannabis, it's like, we've been totally wrong on this, and somebody's got to come out and admit that. But who's funding all these politicians? Like big pharmaceutical. So this stuff you can get for pennies. And I mean, what I've learned in the short time now, this is going to infiltrate big pharmaceutical market. I mean, there's 5 drugs being tested right now with cannabis in it. We're going to see this all start to change. These companies, a lot of these guys that were doing something illegally now being bought out, and that day's coming. But I think for right now, you've got to go back and look at that history. And there's
it's a very dark history, man.
And watching that documentary, I was just like, one of the things we did, I'm meeting next week in Oregon. There's a guy in there and his wife. They started a nonprofit to help minorities get started in the cannabis space, because he's like, now it's all these white guys coming in. And I sat there as a white dude going, even talking to propaganda, it was like, dude, it's gonna be, it's sure, you as a white guy, like, I could never do this, what you're doing. And so this nonprofit, we're actually talking to them about donating a portion of our proceeds to that sort of fund to go, no, this stuff, and you guys, we've been wrong on this, and to give some opportunities as well to minorities that want to get into this, on the legal side.
That's awesome. I think one of the things I discovered is that in making something illegal, it empowers the people who are going to facilitate and distribute it illegally.
Yes.
Like the people who have the muscle, we saw it with prohibition with alcohol. That's when the mobs, and the bootleg liquor business took over. And now, being so hard on drugs, the war on drugs, that's when you saw the cartels really sprout up, And so I think the harder the government is coming down and trying to make certain things illegal, the more power that these other organizations that are like, F your laws, we're going to do whatever we want, And so I think hopefully what we're seeing is legalizing it will take away some of the power from the cartels, legitimize it, take away some of the harsh sentencing for petty drug offenses where these guys were going to jail for, having weed on them. And so I think as a society, we're moving into the right direction with regards to this kind of stuff.